we've all had this happen. You make a decision, feel okay about it, maybe even good, and then poof, it just vanishes. No real follow through. But then sometimes there are these other decisions, maybe seemingly small ones, that just stick. They actually drive what you do for weeks, maybe longer. So why? Why do some commitments feel solid, like rock, while others just wash away? Well, today we're diving into a really fascinating psychological principle that helps explain exactly that. Welcome to the deep dive. Today our focus is on a concept called the freezing effect. We're going to be exploring insights from a source called effetdegel.txt, which really looks into the subtle side of manipulation, influence, and negotiation. It kind of gets to the very core of how commitment gets cemented in place.
That's exactly right. And our mission here really is to unpack this idea, understand where it came from, some quite surprising research actually, and then see how it fundamentally changes the way we think about commitment. Especially, in high-stakes areas like negotiation. The source itself talks about this as part of the dark side of negotiation, and we'll definitely get into why that framing matters.
Okay, right. Let's start there then. Let's unpack this freezing effect. According to the source, what exactly are we talking about?
Well, put simply, it's this idea that when you actively participate in making a decision, especially if you do it publicly, or at least in a way others can see, your personal commitment to that decision gets, significantly stronger.
Okay. So it's not just about agreeing in your head.
Exactly. It's not passive agreement. It's about being involved in creating or confirming that decision.
That's interesting because it feels quite intuitive when you put it like that, but I guess we often just overlook it. We focus so much on the logic, the argument, but you're saying the involvement is the key thing.
Precisely. The way a decision is made and your direct part in that can actually be much more powerful than let's say, the logical merits of the decision itself. Just listening passively, no matter how convincing it sounds, it rarely builds that same deep level of buy-in.
And this isn't some new idea, is it? The source points back quite a way.
Oh, absolutely not. The roots go back to 1947, to the work of the psychologist Kurt Lewin. Really pioneering stuff. His research, you can find it in works like Group Decision and Social Change, was actually done during wartime. He was looking at very practical problems, how to influence what people did.
Okay, so tell us about the experiment. The source mentions housewives.
Yeah, Lewin set up this really neat experiment with two groups of housewives. The first group, they just sat and listened to a lecture, all about the health benefits of organ meats, liver, kidneys, stuff that, let's face it, probably wasn't super popular, especially with wartime rationing, maybe making things tricky anyway. The goal was to get them to cook these more often for their families. And the result for this group, the ones who just listened, tiny, just 3%. Only 3% of them actually changed their cooking habits based on the lecture.
Wow, 3%. That's almost nothing.
Right. Now compare that to the second group. They didn't just listen passively. They actually had a group discussion about organ meats, talked about the pros, the cons, maybe shared ideas on how to prepare them. And here's the absolute key part. After the discussion, everyone was asked to publicly commit, to say they would try cooking these meats by raising their hand.
Just raising a hand.
A simple, visible action, but public. And the difference in results, it was dramatic.
Okay, I'm guessing it was more than 3%.
Oh, way more. A really significant 32% of the women in that group followed through. They actually incorporated organ meats into their cooking.
32% compared to 3%.
Exactly. More than 10 times the success rate. It wasn't better information. It was the active public participation. That's the freezing effect in action. It solidifies the decision.
That's genuinely striking. That simple physical act, raising a hand in front of others, was the trigger. It really hammers home that doing something, not just hearing something, is what locks in commitment. And, as the source material emphasizes, that insight becomes, it calls it a game changer when you think about negotiation.
It really is a game changer. That's the term the source uses, and for good reason.
Yeah.
It shifts the whole approach. Instead of you trying to purely persuade someone else, like a client or maybe even someone in your family, the principle suggests a much better way.
Which is?
Involve them. Make them part of the process. It stops being about you pushing an idea onto them and starts being about them becoming a co-creator, a co-owner of the solution. It's persuasion through collaboration, essentially.
Okay, so how does that translate into practical strategies if you're in a negotiation, say?
Well, the source points to some pretty clear takeaways based on this. Things like, number one, let the other person talk. Really encourage them to share their perspective, their needs, what worries them. Number two, co-create the solution. Don't just present your finished idea. Build it together. Brainstorm options, tweak things side by side. And number 3, get a clear sign of agreement. That could be a verbal, yes, sure, but maybe it's a handshake, signing something, or even just summarizing the agreement and having them confirm it explicitly, like Lewin's hand raising.
So it boils down to involvement leads to commitment.
That's the core message. The more they are actively involved in shaping and confirming the decision, the more likely they are to stick with it. It becomes their decision too.
Now the source, effetdegel.txt, it puts this under the heading, the dark side of negotiation, manipulation, and influence. That sounds a bit ominous.
Well, yes, and it's an important point to consider. If active participation is so powerful in building commitment, it means understanding this mechanism is crucial. You need to be aware of how influence works. It raises the question, could these techniques be used, maybe subtly, to guide someone toward a decision they might not have reached otherwise? Understanding how commitment is forged helps you recognize these dynamics, whether you're trying to persuade someone ethically or trying to spot when influence might be tipping into manipulation.
Right. So the deep dive isn't about teaching manipulation, but about understanding the psychology behind influence so you can navigate it better.
Exactly. It's about illuminating the principle itself.
So let's bring this back to the listener. What does all this mean for you listening right now? It's worth thinking about where this insight applies in your own life, maybe at work, in discussions with your team, maybe in personal relationships, or even just in trying to stick to your own goals. Recognizing the power of active involvement can really make a difference. I think the big takeaway from our deep dive today is just how powerful and maybe how overlooked active participation and public commitment really are. They genuinely seem to lock in decisions in a way passive agreement just doesn't. It's not only what you agree to, but very much how you agree to it.
Yeah, and if you connect this to the bigger picture, the freezing effect really invites a bit of self-reflection, doesn't it? And makes you ask.
Yeah.
In your own life, how many decisions are you just sort of passively accepting, maybe nodding along, versus how many are you actively shaping, truly owning, maybe even stating publicly?
That's a great question to ponder. And maybe here's a final thought for you to take away. Where in your life could a little more active involvement or maybe making a clearer, more public commitment, even if just to yourself or one other person, make a real difference in helping you reach your goals or stick to the things you intend to do?